You've been treated, again and again. The symptom would go away and come back, maybe with a different name, maybe in a different part of the body. But you recognized it. It's yours, an old acquaintance. And at some point, something quietly sounds inside. Something is wrong here. It's not about the pills. You're right. And today, I'm going to tell you something most doctors don't say. Not because they're bad, but because they weren't taught this. There's one thing that's important to understand from the very beginning. A symptom is not a disease. A symptom is a signal. Imagine, a fire alarm starts beeping in your house. You call a technician. He comes and simply removes the battery from the sensor. Silence. Problem solved. No. Somewhere in the house, there's fire. This is exactly what happens when we treat the symptom without asking the main question. Why did it appear in the first place? Back pain is not just a spine problem. Chronic fatigue is not just a vitamin deficiency. Inflammations that come back again and again are not just a weak immune system. The body is talking to you in a language nobody taught us. A woman came to me. I'll call her Marina. She was 43 years old. For 3 years she'd been treating her throat. Laryngitis, tonsillitis, chronic inflammation. Doctors prescribed antibiotics. The inflammation would go away. A month later, it came back. Maybe your immune system is weak, some said. Maybe drafts, said others. Take another course, said a third. When she came to me, I asked her one question. Not when did it start? Not what did the tests show? I asked, is there something in your life that you want to say, but don't? She went silent, and then, quietly, yes, for 3 years I've wanted to quit my job, but I'm afraid. There's stability there. There's a pension. She didn't finish. The throat is the organ of voice, the organ of self-expression. For 3 years, she'd been holding inside what she wanted to say out loud. For 3 years, her body was crying out, speak up. For 3 years, she'd been swallowing pills and silencing that cry. After a few months of work, the laryngitis stopped, not because she started taking different pills, but because she started hearing herself, and because there was someone nearby who helped her ask the right question. Now, I want to explain why this works exactly this way. And this is not esoterics. This is neurobiology. In the 1980s, neuroscientist Candace Pert discovered what she called molecules of emotion. Neuropeptides. It turned out that every emotion you experience, joy, fear, resentment, shame, is expressed in the body as a specific chemical reaction. This is not a metaphor. This is biochemistry. When you suppress an emotion, don't live through it, but hide it, silence it, pull yourself together. That emotion doesn't disappear. It stays in the body as frozen tension, as chronic muscular constriction, as impaired blood circulation in a specific organ, as inflammation. Bessel van der Kolk, one of the world's leading neuropsychiatrists, wrote an entire book about this. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. And here is the central idea he proved through decades of research. The body stores what the mind refuses to feel. You don't think about resentment, but your liver holds it. You don't think about fear, but your shoulders have been carrying it for years. You don't think about suppressed anger, but your head aches from it every morning. And now, the most important part. This doesn't mean you invented your illness yourself. This doesn't mean you're to blame. It means you have a key, because if the body responds to inner states, then by changing your inner state, you change the body's response. This is real psychosomatics, not a horror story, not mysticism. A tool. Now I'm going to tell you something uncomfortable. Most of us grew up with the belief, the body is a mechanism that breaks down. You go to the doctor, they fix it, you move on. But the body is not a mechanism. The body is a living feedback system. It responds to how you live, what you think, what you feel, what you silence, how you treat yourself, how you engage with life. And when illness comes back again and again, it's not bad luck. It's the body repeating its question, because it hasn't been answered yet. This is the difference between two people with the same diagnosis. The first says, "I'm unlucky. I need to take pills." The second says, "Interesting. What is my body trying to tell me?" The first will be in treatment for life. The second will one day understand and change. This doesn't mean giving up doctors. Pills are sometimes necessary. They sometimes save lives. But they're not the end of the story. They're a pause during which you have the opportunity to ask yourself the real question. And this is where true maturity begins. Not, "Why is this happening to me?" but, "What does this tell me about myself?" This is the difference between a victim and a creator, between a person whose life controls them and a person who begins to control themselves. I want to give you one concrete tool right now. Not an hour-long meditation, not a month-long course. 3 questions you can ask yourself today. Take any symptom that keeps coming back to you. Any head, back, throat, skin, stomach, doesn't matter. And honestly answer 3 questions. First, when did this first appear? Not the date, but what was happening in your life at that time? What event? What decision? What changed? Second question, what does this symptom prevent me from doing? Literally, what does it stop you from? Maybe when your head hurts, you don't go to a meeting you've been avoiding for a long time. Maybe when your back hurts, you're released from a responsibility you've been carrying out of fear, not desire. The body sometimes does for us what we don't dare to do ourselves. And the third question, the most unusual one, if this symptom could speak, what would it say? I understand that sounds strange, but try it. Close your eyes for a minute and ask. The answer comes, not always immediately, but it comes. And sometimes that answer changes everything. These 3 questions are not a replacement for treatment. They are the beginning of a dialogue with yourself. A dialogue most of us have never started. I want to close with this. Illness is not an enemy. I know how that sounds, especially when it hurts, especially when you're exhausted from treatment. But illness is a language through which life speaks to you, about what inside you requires attention, about what you've been ignoring for a long time, about who you could become, but are afraid to. And when you start to hear this, something changes. Not immediately, not magically, but it changes, because you stop fighting your own body and start cooperating with it. This is the path from victim of disease to author of your own life. If this video shifted something in you, write about it in the comments. 1 word, 1 phrase, what you felt. It matters, not just to me. It matters to you, so that this doesn't just remain information, but becomes a point from which you move forward. Subscribe. In the next video, I'll break down 9 beliefs that make people sick. Not symptoms, but beliefs specifically. What you believe, and what your body carries out literally. Check yourself. See you next time.